quadratic equation by completing the square. This is a new process. Make sure you pay careful attention. All right. So let's start with expanding this. So how do I expand that? There's a formula, a minus b all square equals to a square minus 2ab plus b squared. We're going to use this formula to expand this. Okay. So to expand this one, you do x squared like that minus, because there's a minus, 2 times x times 3 plus 3 squared. Agree? Close your laptop, please. Thank you. All right. Okay. Then if you continue, the 2 and the 3 becomes 6, so it becomes negative 6x plus 9. Yep. Any question how we expand perfect squares? All right, now after we do this, let's see if we can do the reverse. If I just gave you the first 2 terms, which is this one, what will be the missing term in order for this to become a perfect square? What term would that be? The first one. 9, right? Because you can see that, and that becomes x minus 3. So if we add a 9 to these 2 terms, it becomes a perfect square. Now what if I change the numbers? We'll try to see if there's any connection between the number 6 and the number 9. What's the connection there? What's the connection? You have to halve it first, and then you square, right? That's a half square. Agree? So let's use the same way. So what will be the missing term for the next one? 4. Because you halve the 4, which is 2, you square it, right? And what do we do? Put inside the bracket. X minus 2. Very good. The next one's a little bit harder. It's an odd number. So what should we do? What should we do? So if we halve it, what would that be? Let's write it as an improper. So write 3 over 2 square. Like this. So you write x and then plus, because that's a plus, 3 over 2 square. All right, any question how we complete the square? So this is called completing square, but we're yet to apply it to an equation. So we're going to apply this to an equation over here. All right, so there's an instruction there, but we're going to go through the procedures. Now, how do we solve quadratic equation? We learn how to factorize, isn't it? Now, if we factorize, we have to find numbers which multiply to get 2, add to get negative 4. Does that work for this equation? Well, there's only 2 possibilities, negative 1 times negative 2 and 1 n times 2. Does this add up to negative 4? No. So for this sort of equation, we can no longer solve it by factorization. We have to use this new technique called completing the square. So let's go through the procedure. So what you do is, see the 2, move it to the other side. X squared minus 4x plus, leave a gap equal to negative 2. That's your first step. Move the constant term to the right, but leave a gap there. Now, what do you think we should put inside this gap? The perfect square thing, right? So what do? We have to halve this, which is 2, and then you square it. 2 square. Now, because it's an equation, I added 2 square to the left. What else should I do to the right? Add 2 square. Do the same thing to both sides. Okay, that's your first step. All right, now, what's the point of adding 1 extra term? Because that will actually make the expression simpler. It becomes a perfect square. Now, remember what goes inside this perfect square is the x. And what's the other 2 terms other 2 things you have to write? Minus, good, because that's a minus, and a 2. So it's very easy. If that's a minus, put a minus here. If that's a 2, put a 2 here. Get it? Right? So put the minus, that's a minus, that's a 2, that's a 2. Okay. Now let's continue. What do we have? What's negative 2 plus 4? Negative 2 plus 4 is 2. Okay. Alright, so what we have is this. Looks a bit, let me get rid of it. Okay, so minus 2. Now, how do we solve it now? We can square root, because that's the reason why we make a perfect square, so that it become one thing square. All I have to do is to get rid of that square. How do I get rid of the square? Square root. But what else do we have to add in the square root? That's something always forgotten by students. Plus and minus. Okay. And now, if you want to find x, what do we do? X equals to, what's x equal to? 2, because I have to move the negative 2 to the right, right? Plus or minus root 2. Yeah, so we have these two answers, x equal to 2 plus root 2 or 2 minus root 2. We have these two roots. That's the process of completing square. Get it? Right? Now, before I move on, I just go over this. Just need to say a few more things. Remember earlier we tried to find the two numbers which multiply to get. Let me choose another pen. All right. Remember we tried to find numbers which multiply to get 2 times to get add to get negative 4. Right? Now we have found these numbers. Let's try it on a calculator. If we're going to add them times them together, let's do that. 2 plus root 2, close bracket, times by 2 minus root 2. Oh. Okay. Does it give you 2? Yes, it does, right? When it times, it gives you 2. What if we add them? It should give you that 4 there, right? All right, so we found the numbers. The reason why we can't find the numbers, because the numbers are not whole numbers. They are surds. That's why we can't find them. So we have to use this method to find these surds. Okay? All right, any question? We've got 2 more questions to do, then we can do the exercise. It's very easy. All right, let's do it. Let's do the question. All right, what's the first step? Move the 11. Very good. Let's move the 11. But remember to leave a gap, 11. Okay? Now get rid of that earphone. Thank you. And then what we do is we're going to add something. What do we add? What do we add? Not 11 square, no. Half of 6. What's half of 6? 3 square. Add 3 square to both sides. Okay? Add 3 squares. It's the half of the number x in front of x. Not this one, this one. Okay. Write it down. Now what do we have after this? We can write that as a perfect square. What goes inside that perfect square? X something plus 3. Very good. Now what's 11 plus 3 square? 20. Very good. Now we completed the square. What do we do next? We square root. Yeah. By the end of this, you should know how to do it. It's very easy, right? Plus and minus. And then what do we do after that? We have to find x. X is negative 3, right? Plus or minus root 20. Can we simplify root 20? What's that equal to? 2 root 5. Okay, let's do it a bit slowly. So you get 2 root 5. Okay? Any questions? So we found the x value. Let me just make it a bit bigger. And if you want to write it separately, it's equal to negative 3 plus 2 root 5 or negative 3 plus 2 minus 2 root 5. Okay, any question? Should be good. Yeah, okay, good. All right. That's good. How about try the next one? Next one is a little bit harder because you get odd number. Okay, that's an odd one, so you get fractions. Let's try to do that. Okay, all right, let's start. Okay, again, the same procedure apply. What's the first step? Yeah, move the negative 1 over, leave a gap there, and then think about what to add on the gap, plus something on both sides. What should we add? We add not 1.5, we don't want decimal, we want 3 over 2. So write 3 over 2 all square, 3 over 2 all square. Okay? And then what we do is we're going to write it as a perfect square. Perfect square. What goes inside the perfect square? X minus, because there's a minus there, and then minus what? 3 over 2. And then just calculate this on a calculator. We got negative 1 plus, now when you put a fraction, make sure you put a bracket, 3 over 2 squared. What do you get? Anyone did it? 5 over 4. Remember, no decimal. We want it in fraction. There's a reason why we put it in fraction, because I want to be able to square root it. Right? Square root. And when you square root a fraction, just split the square root into square root of the numerator over square root of the denominator. So we can simplify it. Of course, putting a plus or minus in front. Now, what's square root of 4? 2. So we get plus or minus root 5 over 2. Okay, now what do we do next? Yeah, move that 3 over 2 to the right side, so you get positive 3 over 2. Now have a look. They have the same denominator. That's why we have to square root of 4 to get the same denominator. If they have the same denominator, write it like this. So it looks better. Okay? All good. Question. So basically, x equal to 3 plus root 5 or 3 minus root 5. Now, before I finish, I need to say a few things. Firstly, a lot of people haven't done hot maths. If you ask for a revision sheet, you should do the hot maths first. If you've done your hot maths, make sure you do the chapter review for the test tomorrow. Okay.